I'm 46 now, and it all started back when I was just 20 years old. That was when I found out my then girlfriend cheated on me with my own brother. It was a betrayal that cut deep, and I remember the raw, burning anger and heartbreak like it was yesterday. I told my brother right then that he was dead to me, no longer my brother in any sense that mattered. Over the years, despite my clear stance, my family never cut ties with him, which just added salt to the wound. I made it clear that if they wanted to choose between inviting him or me to family gatherings, they should choose him because I wasn't going to be in the same room with him. Ever. That's been my line in the sand, my non-negotiable. Fast forward to the present, and here we are with my daughter getting ready to marry next spring. You'd think that time would heal all wounds, but some cuts are just too deep. In a turn of events that feels like a twist in a movie, my daughter recently sat me down and calmly dropped the news that she was inviting my brother and his family to her wedding. Yes, the very brother who backstabbed me. And worse, he married that same ex-girlfriend of mine. To add to the complexity, my daughter has been secretly building a relationship with them for the last 4 years behind my back. She even wants her cousin, my niece from that marriage, to be the flower girl. I felt like I was living a nightmare, hearing all this. My blood boiled as all those old wounds ripped open anew. I couldn't help but react. I told her straight up about my boundaries. If my brother was invited, I wouldn't be there, nor would I pay for any part of the wedding. Predictably, this didn't go over well with her. She got angry, accusing me of holding on to the past and making her wedding about my old grudges. The argument escalated quickly, voices raised, harsh words thrown. She left in tears, which tore at me, but I felt cornered, like my past was being dismissed as just old baggage. Then, as if the situation wasn't stressful enough, my ex-wife called me, furious, calling me an idiot and saying our daughter was crushed by my stance. My parents also weighed in, echoing similar sentiments, telling me I was being unreasonable and needed to get over it. I shut down, stopped taking their calls. My current girlfriend, who's been a rock through this, gently suggested I reconsider my position and apologize to smooth things over. She warned that I might irreparably damage my relationship with my daughter over this. Here I am, wrestling with a tangled mess of emotions. On one hand, I've got my daughter's wedding, a milestone I should be part of. On the other, there's the deep-seated hurt and betrayal from my brother, something I've never truly gotten past. I keep turning it over in my mind. Should I stick to my boundaries, which are about respect and protecting my peace? Or do I cave to keep the peace and potentially open old wounds? The whole situation has left me feeling isolated from my family, and yet, I know that making a stand could cost me my relationship with my daughter. I'm torn between the need to uphold my principles and the desire to be there for my daughter on one of the most important days of her life. As I mull over my options, I'm considering ways to maybe be involved without having to directly confront my brother. Could I contribute in a way that keeps me physically distant from the wedding? How do I even begin to navigate a conversation with my daughter that doesn't end in more tears and anger? Am I the idiot for that? Now for the top comments before the update. Not the idiot. This is one of those stories where your daughter has decided that she's willing to alienate you for someone that betrayed your trust. It doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago. It only matters that it happened, which means she betrayed your trust. If she wants him there so badly, he can pay to have to. The people around you need a reality check. Ask your daughter of her fiancé, cheated on her with her sister tomorrow, moved on with the affair partner, and decided to stay close to him. How she feel? It's so easy for everyone to judge you when they're not in your shoes, and in terms of the money, tradition or not, it's yours, and you can do with it as you please. I still wouldn't pay since there's so much secrecy. I bet you'll pay in. Your brother will show up regardless. He supports his daughter his whole life and makes it clear his brother's no longer welcome in his life. His daughter betrays his trust and springs this on him, while also expecting him to be a checkbook for her wedding. She's a grown woman. She can learn the consequences. It was probably the brother making sure OP's daughter likes him to get another one in an op. I do not like the brother. Here's a very unpopular opinion. I don't understand why your daughter decided to connect with someone who betrayed their father. How much drama would it have been to let sleeping dogs lie? I know many people won't agree with me, but if this causes an irreparable rift between you and your daughter, being right won't give you much comfort. While I'm fully supporting you, standing your ground, just remember, if you stand here, you will miss out on her potential kids' birthday parties. Another family events because your family will truly cut you off. If you're okay with that, then so be it. It's been 26 years longer than OP's daughter has even been alive. I understand being annoyed that his brother's invited, not wanting to talk or take pictures with him, etc. But giving up your relationship with your daughter is cutting off your nose to spite your face. Here's my question, OP. Your brother stole your girlfriend. Do you want him to steal your daughter to your grandchildren? If not, stop being an idiot and suck it up for one day. Now for updates. Update 1. It was just another Thursday, and I thought it was going to be a regular evening. Maybe fix up something quick for dinner, catch up on a TV show, and chill. But the moment I turned my key in the lock and pushed the door open, I realized today was anything but normal. Right there in my own living room were the last two people I ever expected to see chilling on my couch, my brother and his wife. The shock of seeing them there made my heart skip a beat. This was the brother who had backstabbed me years ago by cheating with my girlfriend, who he eventually married. And there they were, sitting casually as if they hadn't turned my world upside down once. I stood frozen in the doorway, my keys still dangling in the door. "What's going on here?" I finally managed to ask, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. My daughter, Lily, was there too, looking like she was caught between wanting to hide and wanting to explain everything. She stood up quickly, a nervous smile plastered on her face. "Hey, Dad, you're home early," she said, as if that was the biggest surprise. "Why are they here?" I asked, my eyes flicking between my brother and his wife, not believing this was really happening. "Dad, I invited them over. I thought it was time to sort things out, before the wedding," Lily explained, her voice hopeful but shaky. "Sort things out?" I repeated, incredulous. The room felt too small, the walls closing in as the anger started to bubble up inside me. "You think after everything that happened, after what he did, we can just sort things out like it's nothing?" My brother, who hadn't said a word yet, finally spoke up. His voice was calm, too calm. "I know this is hard, but I just thought—" "Hard?" I cut him off, not ready to hear whatever excuse he had. "You think this is just hard? You have no idea. You wrecked everything, and now you just show up in my living room like we're going to have a nice little chat?" Lily stepped in front of me, her hands up like she was trying to physically stop the fight before it got worse. "Dad, please, just listen for a second. This is important to me. I want my wedding to be a day when our whole family comes together, not falls apart." "This is not your family," I said firmly, pointing at my brother. "I told you years ago, he's nothing to me now. And you," I turned to his wife, "you're no better." The room went silent for a moment, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Lily's face crumpled, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Dad, why can't you just get over it? It's been years. Don't you see you're just holding on to old grudges?" "Old grudges?" I felt a laugh bubble up, but it was hollow, bitter. "These aren't just grudges. This is about respect, about trust. And I gestured angrily at my brother, he broke all of that. But I'm asking you, as your daughter, to try. For me," Lily pleaded, her voice breaking. "No, I can't. Not with him." My voice was firm, final. I looked at my brother and his wife. "You need to leave. Now." "But Dad," Lily started. "I said now." My voice boomed louder than I intended. There was a painful moment where nobody moved. Then, slowly, my brother and his wife got up. They didn't say another word as they walked to the door, but my daughter's eyes stayed on me, hurt and accusing. "You're going to regret this," she whispered, a tear rolling down her cheek. "You're choosing your pride over your own daughter." The door shut behind them, and the sound echoed in the empty room. I stood there, my heart racing, my emotions a tangled mess. Was I right to send them away? Or had I just made the biggest mistake, pushing my daughter away over a feud that should have been buried long ago? Now the house was silent. Too silent. It felt like a gaping hole had been opened up right in the middle of my family, and I had no idea how to fix it. Could I have handled that better? Should I have just listened for Lily's sake? The questions swirled in my mind, each one heavier than the last. As I sat down on the couch, trying to calm my racing heart, I realized this was far from over. The road to my daughter's wedding was going to be a rocky one, and I had just made it even rockier. Update 2. With my daughter Lily's wedding getting closer every day, it felt like the walls were starting to close in on me. Everything seemed to be spiraling out of control ever since I kicked my brother and his wife out of my house. I thought I had seen it all, but things were about to get even more intense. It all kicked off one afternoon when I was out in the garage, trying to distract myself by working on a new woodworking project. I was sanding down a piece of oak when my phone buzzed. I wiped the sawdust off my hands and checked it, seeing my parents' names flashing on the screen. A knot formed in my stomach, but I answered, hoping maybe they just wanted to chat. I was wrong. As soon as I said hello, I could hear the disappointment in my dad's voice. "You've really done it this time," he said. His words were heavy, filled with frustration. "Your mother and I can't believe how you treated your brother and his wife. You're acting like a jerk, you know that?" Hearing him say that felt like a slap in the face. I leaned against the workbench, my grip tightening on the phone. Dad, come on. You know the whole story. How can you expect me to just forget everything and act like nothing happened? It's been over 25 years, he argued back. Sure, he made a huge mistake back then, but people change. You're still clinging to this old grudge, and it's pulling the family apart. I tried to keep my cool, but it was hard. Pulling the family apart? Wasn't it him who did that when he betrayed me? Before I could add anything else, my mom took the phone from my dad. Her voice was softer, but it still carried a sharp edge of criticism. Listen, we love you, but you need to hear this. You're being stubborn and selfish. Your daughter wants her uncle at her wedding. You're hurting her with your stubbornness, don't you see? The call ended without any goodbyes, just a lot of harsh words hanging in the air. I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Jessica, my girlfriend, had been in the doorway listening. She came over, her face full of concern. You know, maybe they don't understand, but I do, Jessica said, wrapping her arm around me. Her support felt like a lifeline in a sea of chaos. But maybe there's a way to handle this that doesn't end with you or Lily getting hurt. Her words were a small comfort, but they didn't solve the big problem. The thought of seeing my brother at Lily's wedding, acting like everything was okay, made my stomach turn. But then there was Lily, my daughter, who I loved more than anything. She had been calling almost every day, her voice more and more upset each time. Dad, please, she would say, her voice desperate. This isn't just about you or Uncle Mike. It's my day. Don't you want to be there for me? Her pleas made my heart heavy. Was I really going to let my past with my brother ruin one of the happiest days of her life? But on the other hand, how could I just stand there and pretend everything was fine with the man who hurt me so deeply? As the wedding day drew nearer, the pressure kept mounting. I'd lie awake at night, the house quiet around me, wrestling with what to do. On one hand, if I stuck to my guns and refused to go, I might regret missing my daughter's wedding forever. On the other hand, if I went and faced my brother, I wasn't sure I could handle it without the old wounds tearing open all over again. It felt like a no-win situation. Every option seemed to end with someone getting hurt. I spent hours pacing back and forth in my living room, trying to find some kind of middle ground. Could I really find a way to be there for Lily without having to interact with my brother? The more I thought about it, the more complicated it seemed. The clock was ticking, and with every passing day, the decision weighed heavier on me. It was like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I needed to find a way out before it crushed me. Update 3. As the days leading up to Lily's wedding flew off the calendar, I braced myself every time the phone rang or someone knocked on the door, half expecting more drama. But then, something completely unexpected happened that turned the whole situation around. One quiet afternoon, I was out back in the garden, just me and the weeds, trying to get my mind off things. That's when I heard the front door open and close. I figured it was Jessica getting back from somewhere, but then I heard a voice that stopped me in my tracks. Dad, are you out here? It was Lily. I straightened up, brushing dirt off my knees, and turned around to see her walking towards me, a serious look on her face. My heart skipped a beat, wondering what was on her mind this time. Hey, kiddo, I said, trying to sound calm, even though I was anything but. She took a deep breath as she reached me, letting it out slowly like she was about to lift a heavy weight off her shoulders. Dad, we need to talk. I've been thinking a lot. We sat down together on the edge of the porch, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows on the ground. She reached out and took my hand, a gesture that brought back memories of her childhood when a handhold could make everything better. I'm really sorry, Dad, for how I handled things with Uncle Mike and his wife. I should have talked to you first instead of just springing that meeting on you, she began, her voice full of regret. Hearing her apologize like that, I felt a mix of surprise and relief. I squeezed her hand gently. I understand why you did it, Lily, but yeah, it was tough for me. I know, Dad, and I've been thinking about everything, she continued, her eyes earnest and sincere. That's why I've decided that Uncle Mike and his wife won't be coming to the wedding. I want you there, Dad. It's more important that you're there, and I don't want anything to spoil that. This was the last thing I expected to hear. For a moment, I was at a loss for words. Are you sure about this? I don't want you to feel like you have to choose or miss out on having other family there because of me. She shook her head, her decision clear. No, Dad. This is what I want. It's not just about taking sides. It's about celebrating the day with love and the family that supports us and builds us up, not the ones that might bring us down. We spent a long time talking that afternoon, more openly than we had in a while. We talked about the wedding details, about our family, and about how we both saw the future. It felt like we were repairing old bridges, ones that had needed some serious mending. By the time she left, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders, a weight I didn't fully realize I was carrying until it was gone. News of Mike and his wife not attending spread through the family pretty fast. Reactions were a mixed bag. Some were relieved, others a bit upset. But for me, it was all about making sure Lily's day was as perfect as it could be without the shadow of past hurts looming over us. Watching her drive away that day, I felt a peace about the upcoming wedding that I hadn't felt in weeks. Maybe, just maybe, this was a step towards healing for all of us. It wasn't going to be quick or easy, and the road ahead would have its bumps. But for now, it felt right. We were on a path that could lead to mending, not just for me and Lily, but maybe for the whole family. One step at a time. Update 4. Just when I thought we were finally on a smooth path to Lily's wedding, a curveball came flying our way. It was one of those sunny afternoons, the kind where you wouldn't expect any drama. I was just fixing up a snack in the kitchen when my phone rang. It was an old family friend, someone who'd been more in touch with my brother's side of the family than mine. I hesitated before answering, not sure I was in the mood for more drama, but curiosity won out. "Hey, there's something you should know about why Mike really wants to come to Lily's wedding," the friend said right off the bat, sounding a bit uneasy. I leaned against the counter, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "Okay, shoot," I replied, bracing myself for whatever was coming. The friend sighed heavily before continuing. "Well, it turns out Mike's got an ulterior motive. His son, your nephew, is getting married soon too. But here's the kicker. Most of the family has shunned that wedding because of the stunt Mike pulled on you years ago. They haven't forgiven him, and it's causing a rift." I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. So this was what it was all about. My brother wasn't trying to mend old wounds for the sake of family unity. He was trying to fix his own image to ensure his son's wedding wasn't a flop. He figured that if he could get back on good terms with you at Lily's wedding, maybe the family would soften up and decide to show up for his son's big day, the friend added, sounding as disappointed as I felt. After the call, I sat down at the kitchen table, the news sinking in. It felt underhanded, and I knew I had to tell Lily. When she came over later that day, I explained everything. Watching her face fall as she processed the news was heart-wrenching. "Dad, why can't things just be simple? Why does everything have to have an angle?" Lily's voice cracked with emotion, and it was clear she felt manipulated, a mere chess piece in her uncle's game. I reached out and pulled her into a hug, trying to offer some comfort. "I'm sorry, kiddo. Life throws these weird curves at us sometimes, but remember, we're in this together. Your wedding is about you and your happiness, not about anyone else's games." Lily nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "It's just so frustrating, Dad. To think that he would use my wedding, something so important to me, just to fix his own mistakes." We spent a lot of time talking that evening. It was a deep, sometimes painful conversation, but by the end of it, Lily seemed a bit calmer, though the disappointment still lingered. We reaffirmed our decision together. Mike and his wife would not be invited to the wedding. This decision was now about more than just old wounds. It was about integrity and genuine intentions, both of which Mike seemed to lack. Word of Mike's real motives spread quickly within the family. The reaction was a mix of outrage and support for our decision. Most family members felt even more strongly that Lily and I were doing the right thing. They were upset on her behalf, angry that her uncle would stoop so low as to use her special day for his own benefit. As the wedding day drew nearer, I felt a renewed sense of protectiveness and pride in how Lily was handling everything. Sure, there were likely to be more challenges ahead, but this twist had only strengthened the bond between us. We were more determined than ever to keep the wedding focused on what truly mattered, celebrating Lily and her future, surrounded by people who loved her genuinely, without any hidden agendas or ulterior motives. Every night as I went to bed, I thought about how lucky I was to have such a strong and smart daughter. Whatever came our way, I knew we'd face it together, just like we always had. Update 5. As Lily's wedding day got closer, things seemed to be calming down, but we were in for a bit more drama before we could get to the celebrations. Lily, feeling really upset and betrayed by her Uncle Mike's sneaky plan, decided she wasn't just going to let it go. She needed to confront him and his wife about their real reasons for wanting to come to her wedding. One chilly evening, Lily sat down with Uncle Mike and his wife at our local coffee shop. She was really nervous but determined to get some answers. She asked them straight up why they were so keen on coming to her wedding, especially when they hadn't been a big part of her life lately. Uncle Mike tried to dance around the question, giving half answers and trying to smooth things over. But Lily wasn't having any of it. She could tell he wasn't being fully honest, and it just made her more upset. Feeling like she hadn't gotten the truth from them directly, Lily decided to take a big step. She made a video and posted it on social media, explaining the whole situation. She talked about how she found out that Uncle Mike was trying to use her wedding to fix his own family problems because many relatives were still mad at him for what he did years ago. She explained how this made her feel used and hurt. The video quickly went viral within our community and family circles. People were really supportive of Lily, leaving comments that they stood by her and were shocked at Uncle Mike's actions. It seemed like Uncle Mike's plan not only didn't work, but actually made things worse for him. Now, even more family members decided they didn't want to go to his son's wedding because they were upset by how he'd acted. The family drama kicked up a notch after that. People were taking sides, and there were a lot of heated discussions at family gatherings and online. It was tough to see the family so divided. Uncle Mike called me a few days after the video went out. He sounded really down, more sorry than I'd ever heard him before. I just wanted to make things right for my son, but I see now how wrong I was to try to use Lily's wedding like that, he told me. I could tell he was genuinely regretful, but for a lot of people, it was too little, too late. Despite all this, Lily's wedding day arrived, and it was a beautiful sunny day, perfect for a wedding. There was still a bit of tension in the air because of all the family stuff, but we all tried to put it aside and focus on Lily and her big day. She looked absolutely stunning, and as she walked down the aisle, all smiles and glowing, I felt a wave of relief and happiness. We were all here for her, and that's what really mattered. The wedding was gorgeous, full of laughter, dancing, and lots of cake. And for a day at least, it felt like the family drama was put on hold. Everyone was just happy to celebrate Lily and her new start. After the wedding, things didn't just magically go back to normal in our family. The rifts were still there, and it felt like it might take a long time for some wounds to heal. But what mattered was that Lily had a wonderful wedding day, and she knew she had the support of many family members who respected her and stood by her decision. This whole situation taught us a lot about being honest and standing up for what you believe in. It was messy and painful at times, but it also brought some of us closer together. We realized how important it is to support each other and to be clear about our intentions. And for Lily, it was a lesson in handling tough situations with grace and strength. Last update. As we left the town hall that day, the air felt different, almost electric with the raw emotions and revelations that had unfolded. Everyone lingered a bit, hesitant to part ways too quickly after such intense exchanges. The conversations that started inside spilled out onto the steps, with family members forming small clusters, talking earnestly. Lily stayed close to me, her earlier apprehension replaced by a thoughtful, more hopeful expression. "Dad, that was overwhelming, but I think it was what we needed. It's weird, isn't it? How much we didn't know, how much pain could have been avoided with just a few honest conversations." I nodded, squeezing her shoulder gently. "Yeah, it's a lot to take in. But you're right. It's like we've been carrying around pieces of a puzzle without even knowing it, and today we finally started putting them together." Around us, I could see similar moments unfolding. Aunt Clara was deep in conversation with Mike, both of them looking more at ease than they had in years. Their discussion seemed heartfelt, with nods and the occasional hand on a shoulder. It was clear that while the path to forgiveness might be long and bumpy, the commitment to make it work was there. Meanwhile, my cousin, whose unexpected arrival had added yet another layer to our family's story, was now surrounded by younger family members eager to hear more about the overseas life and the insights that had led them back to us at such a crucial time. Their stories, filled with adventures and the wisdom of distance, added a lighter note to the gathering, reminding us all of the bonds that still held strong despite everything. As the crowd slowly started to disperse, Lily and I walked towards our car. The setting sun cast long shadows and the cool breeze hinted at the coming of fall. "You know, Dad, I think today changed a lot of things for us for the better," Lily mused, her voice reflective. "It did," I agreed, feeling a mix of pride and relief. "And I'm proud of you, kiddo. It took a lot of courage to face all this head on, to push for honesty and openness." Lily smiled, looking up at the sky tinted with hues of orange and pink. "It's going to be okay, isn't it? I mean, we still have a lot to work through, but it feels like we're not stuck anymore." "Exactly," I said, as we reached the car and paused, looking back at the town hall, now bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. "We're moving forward, and that's what matters. Healing is a journey, and today was a big step on that path, and whatever comes next, we'll handle it together as a family." As we drove away, the town hall shrinking in the rearview mirror, I felt a sense of closure and a new beginning. The secrets that had once threatened to tear us apart were now out in the open, and in their place, a tentative hope had taken root. It was a reminder that while the past may shape us, it doesn't have to define us. Our family, with all its complexities and imperfections, was slowly finding its way back to each other, one honest conversation at a time.